Hey guys, welcome back to Sex Ed with Mo, and today I wanted to talk more about erectile dysfunction. In my last video I mentioned that there was a workshop coming up, and then I decided that I was just going to give the information to you for free. So here it is. One of the things that I wanted to talk about when erectile dysfunction or this can be premature ejaculation, performance anxiety, anytime you feel like you can't sustain your erection for too long, or you have a hard time getting it up, or you come too fast. All of these are things that create these sort of like psychological hang-ups. So it's like there's a psychological root, number one, and then number two, you feel like you're thinking about it all the time now. So it becomes like psychologically damaging. Now your self-esteem is suffering and you're worried that you're not going to be able to perform. And so it becomes this sort of like self-fulfilling prophecy, and the cycle keeps going and keeps continuing. One of the main things that I notice when it comes to psychological blocks with this type of thing is that there's a disconnect. So there's a disconnect between the mind and the body. And what's happening is that the mind is working overtime, going, and the body doesn't have a chance to catch up or respond, or the body is telling you something, right? The body is saying, hey, I don't feel like working the way you want me to. So there's a disconnect between the body and the mind. So the first thing is learning to connect to your body. One of the best ways to do that is any sort of meditation practice, yoga practice, breathing, just sitting quietly at your desk if you have a desk job, or if you're driving your car, closing your eyes for 20 seconds and just breathing and connecting with the sensations in your body, and doing that on a regular daily basis to notice how you're feeling. How are you feeling today? Are your palms sweaty? Is your heart beating really fast? Are you constipated? Is your stomach hurting? Is your back hurting? Noticing all of these sensations in our body can really be key to understanding what's happening in our penis and our genitals, right? So the goal is to, number one, get connected. Get that body and mind connected. Now it's easier said than done. It takes practice, and if you're constantly anxious, or you're constantly worried, or you're constantly stressed out, or you have a lot going on in your life, taking that time out to connect to your body is something that you might not have a luxury of doing. And so the practice becomes really important, because times do get stressful. There are days when you're just running around and you can't get a minute to yourself. The opposite is also true. If you're overly depressed, or you're spending too much time alone, or you feel disconnected from the world, or you feel lonely, or you feel disconnected from people, this can also affect this mind-body connection. Basically, now you're getting disconnected because, again, you're thinking too much. So if you're anxious, you're thinking too much, and if you're depressed or lonely, you are thinking too much. And we'll talk a little bit later. I'll do separate videos on depression and loneliness and how they can affect sexual activity. But basically, what's happening is you're not allowing yourself to connect to your body. That's it in a nutshell. And so one of the main things that therapists will tell you when you go see them about your erectile dysfunction is, are you going to yoga? The other thing is getting connected with your sexuality. So this is number two. There's a huge disconnect when it comes to owning our sexuality. We are not given the tools from a young age to be able to talk about sex, ever. So start having conversations about sex. It can be with a therapist, it can be with your buddies, it can be with a partner. The more conversations you have openly and honestly about sexuality, the more comfortable you'll feel. Have a vocabulary for sexuality. This is so important. This is this is like sex 101, is having a vocabulary, so you can use words like dick, cock, blowjob, things like that without laughing, basically, without having like this nervous, So those types of things are all very important, And number 4 is getting comfortable with your sexuality. A lot of times, performance anxiety happens because you feel insecure about who you are. Maybe you feel insecure about whether or not you're going to perform okay, just kind of like we talked about, the vicious cycle. And there are many ways to get your head straight. Positive affirmations, for example, is one way, but the goal being get your self-confidence back. If you need to work out, go work out. Whatever you need to boost your self-confidence to feel good is going to help you get more in touch with that part of you that is disconnected a little bit. And number 5 is use it. The more you use it, the better you're going to become at using it. So whether it's with a partner or masturbating, don't avoid it. In other words, when something doesn't work, or you feel scared about something, or we're ashamed about something, our tendency is to kind of just avoid it and not deal with it at all. So if you're in a long-term relationship, or you're in a relationship, or you're dating or something, and you just avoid having any sort of sex that involves your penis, whether it be intercourse or oral sex or anal sex or whatever, you just avoid it completely, well, it's not going to get better. So use it. Masturbating. While you're masturbating, don't just masturbate to orgasm, masturbate to feel good. If you feel like you're about to orgasm, this is called the start and stop technique. Just stop, stop yourself, and then, take a break, and then pick back up. The start and stop technique can actually help you get a little bit more control of your erections, of your orgasms, make you just feel like you have a little bit more sense of, well-being around it. And, like I mentioned, talking about it, talking about sex, talk to your partner about it. If it's something that is plaguing you, it's a big deal. So instead of avoiding it and brushing it under the rug, bring it up and say, hey, this has been really on my mind, and make your partner be part of the solution. Together, you guys can come up with some really great fun things to do. The other thing to remember, and I guess this would be number 6, is that there's much more to sex than intercourse. There's a lot more to sex than orgasm. And if you're watching my videos, I'm going to start to sound like a broken record, because I'm going to say this over and over again. And so do other things, like don't avoid being sexual and intimate with people because you're afraid that your penis might not work. Don't be afraid to try other things. Use your hand, use your mouth, use toys, have fun. Sex is about having fun. Taking the pressure off can really, really be the key. So, like going back to number 1, learning to relax and having that mind-body connection is part of, taking the pressure off. The other thing I wanted to say is that a lot of times when you're in a relationship with someone that's really hot, you'll have some sort of performance anxiety because maybe you feel like you're not good enough for her, or that she is way up here on this pedestal and you're way down here, and there's no way you're going to be able to please her, or and so that kind of goes back to the one about building your self-confidence and recognizing that you're great. You bring a lot of amazing things to this table. So however you do build that self-confidence, that's going to be key. And start to see your partner as a real person and not as this like China doll, or if it's a man, a China doll man, a male China doll, or whatever, whatever gender they are. Don't put them up on a pedestal, because that could perpetuate the cycle of your performance anxiety. So that's pretty much it today. I will probably be back with more as I get more questions on this channel. So don't hesitate to ask me questions down below, and or send me emails, and I'll put all of that information down below. Again, my name is MoushumyGhose.com or lasextherapist.com, and I will see you soon. Bye.